Yo, what's up, guys? Bajheera here, back at it again with another Path of Exile 2 Smith of Kitava Warrior build update. This time we're looking at a level 93 Warrior. Been able to put in a little bit of work, make a little bit of progress, and we've changed the build up, and I think we're sort of approaching what will likely be the build that we're going to be using for a combination of the endgame mapping and even into some early bossing. This is not like hyper specialized for bosses. I think there are some things that I would do with my skill gems in particular that would allow me to boss like very specifically, but that would not be as good for mapping, and we're still doing a lot of mapping right now. So if you guys are kind of approaching this end game, this is something you might want to check out. As time goes on, more and more the challenges the build is going to face is like, how do you defeat these big pinnacle bosses? And I do think that this is the beginning of that sort of orientation of the build, be able to do that, I think. So we'll see. We'll see. Another thing I want to address right off the bat is I think at the time of release of this video, we will probably not have a Mobalytics update yet. But for this particular build, I think I do want to do a Mobalytics update. The last one was like the Berserk one with Perfect Strike. Pretty fun, pretty cool, very experimental. Not sure it's really worth the Mobalytics update for that one, but this one I will try to do that because I know that you guys like the written guides. I think it's easy to sort of take a look at it at a glance, be able to see the passives really quickly, be able to see the skill gems really quickly, maybe open it up another tab, just to kind of set your guy up. But at the same time, I really appreciate you guys watching these videos because I love making them. And the fact that we can create Path of Exile 2 content and have it succeed means I can do more of it. And I'm completely obsessed with PoE 2, so works for me. Anyway, let's have a look what we're doing here. A couple things that we've changed up right off the bat are a few of the talents. I think we went back to a strategy that I have liked before and something I wanted to try out. I already kind of have an idea of where I want to go next, but let's talk about where we're at for the moment. Smith of Kitava, we are fully ascended. We are going into the resistances little side of things, where fire gives you cold and lightning resist at 50% of their value. Super nice for capping your resistances and getting max resistances with Smith of Kitava. This makes it a very good starter build, makes it a very good like HC build and SSF build for sure, because you just get so much of your defenses solved right off the bat. It's lovely. And again, max resist is one of the strongest defensive layers in Path of Exile 2, so having that is amazing. We've got the Smith's Masterwork. We are rocking with body armor, gives you 15% max life, 20% increased strength, 5% max fire res, and 25% of physical damage taken from hits as fire damage. One thing to consider is over time, if I go into blood magic or in general, we could move the 15% increased max life into the 5% max life regen per second. That could be really nice. I feel like my recovery is okay at the moment, and I'm not using blood magic yet, but I might. So I'm using the 15% max life, but the 5% life regen is very good too. So here we're going through increased melee damage as we usually do. There was a little while where I was trying this, but I'm like, I'm back to this. I like this one. It's not like the most going through this way, but it's okay. It adds up a little bit. We're grabbing stun buildup and strength and all this. I do still get a little bit of strength in the tree. I have enough strength now that I don't necessarily have to like really scrounge for every little bit of strength. I even dropped beef, man. Like, what is going on there? But that's kind of what we're doing for the moment. And we are going down through here for the armor stuff. I know that we're going to be yapping a lot, but again, to reiterate, what I'm doing right now is at level 93 and is appropriate for my gear and my character's progression. And the way that I have my guy set up right now is specifically a combination of the challenges I'm facing and the resources that I have to do so. So this is not necessarily the setup I'd be using at level 70 or whatever. So if you guys are progressing through, keep that in mind, that the things that I was doing at level 70 were probably more appropriate for level 70. This stuff isn't like bad. It's just like, for example, I have a little bit more talent points to work with. I have a little bit more gear to work with. We have the 4th Ascendancy to work with. So we can do things like drop a little bit of strength off the tree. If we're getting fresh into maps, we don't have as many resources skill point wise, and we don't have as many resources like with strength on gear and stuff, we're probably gonna have to really be very adamant about getting all the strength in the tree that we can, so that we can get that that Giant's Blood going, get our shield on for maps. But anyway, just to reiterate, this is sort of a snapshot of what I'm doing where I'm at, rather than what everybody needs to be doing wherever they're at, just to keep that in mind. But it's fun to be able to do these videos and updates over time because things change, and the challenges that you're facing and the resources that you have to do so change as well and expand frequently. So anyway, we are going through this to get some strength. For my mapping build, that's another thing to reiterate, is the mapping build is going to be the red line. This normal, like, kind of like, you know, golden line is the baseline of talents for both builds, but then the green line will be for things that I'm only using for my bossing setup. And the way that I tend to do this, I don't have two different weapons, so all I do is I switch into this for bosses, and once I kill the boss, we switch back into this, right? And then we're back into this build, and that when we're chilling, all right? So that's what I do. Eventually, what I'll do is I'll get hopefully 2 other good hammers, and I'll just put those in my weapon set too, and we'll swap into this and drop a big hammer of the gods, and then we'll swap back for just a good old boss killing. All right. Anyway, we keep getting sidetracked, but there's a lot to talk about, so bear with me. We are going up through here. I still like the attack speed here. Very nice. I have attack speed on my weapon. I have attack speed on gloves, but we're definitely still getting attack speed through our tree a little bit. And I might even go for more later on. But I had a little random point. This is kind of cool for just armor, reduced crit damage, and a little bit of stats. That's fine. Coming down here, I'm still grabbing all of this. This is also potentially the chopping block. This whole side of things right here might get chopped as we get a little bit more XP, and maybe as I get like a better weapon, maybe. I'm considering it, and I'll tell you why. What's going on here? Oh, okay, I gotcha. So we've got 2-handed weapon damage, reduced attack speed, but extra stun build up and damage, and more AoE and strength. Still really, really nice. And down here, I even grabbed a couple extra little damage thingies, because we have damage per block chance. Now, I'm not stacking block chance, but if you have like 75% block chance, if you want to do that, you can. I feel like my guy is tanky enough to not be super scared of a lower block chance, but 40% increased damage, 60% increased damage, 70% increased damage from all of this is kind of nice to have. And it's like really convenient, because I'm already here to get the extra little bleed chance and magnitude of bleed, and I'm already here and whatnot for, you know, the 2-handed stuff. But for my bossing build, we are going into a 15% increased chance to inflict ailments, 25% increased chance to inflict ailments, and you break extra armor when the target is inflicted with ailments. So the only ailment we're really doing is bleed, but it is nice to get that bleed inflicted, and it is also nice to break extra armor while they're bleeding. Because I'm not doing a ton with armor break right now, but I am still using it on my Hammer of the Gods to consume the armor break to do more damage, and then get it back on there to do just more damage to the enemy in general. So that's what we're doing on this side of the thing. Then to resume over here, we are grabbing a little bit of extra AoE and armor break just for mapping. We are doing more melee damage and more melee damage to stun enemies for everything. We're coming up here for more attack speed, skill speed. So skill speed is Warcry speed, cast speed, which we don't really do, and attack speed. So skill speed does count as attack speed, so this is good for me. We come down here, we grab all the 2-handed melee damage stuff, reduce attack speed again, but more stun buildup, more damage to 2-handers is great. We have, for mapping only, we have the extra AoE if we stun an enemy recently, which we are doing frequently. We are grabbing some Warcry stuff. It's like, what's all this Warcry stuff? Spoiler alert. The sort of filler ability that I'm using now is Earth Shatter. I didn't love Earth Shatter, but I think it's a little bit too good to pass up for what we're trying to do here. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But in order to use Earth Shatter effectively, it's nice to have Warcry reduce CD, Warcry speed to make the Warcry go off a little bit faster, but also bring the Warcry cooldown down, so you can use it like pretty much kind of whenever you want to. You're going boom, 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 getting some Earth Shatters down, exploding the spikes for a lot of stun build up, especially once we sock it in overpower. That's one of the things that I probably do when we're fighting a pinnacle boss in particular, is we'll sock it in overpower, we'll sock it in splinter. It'll be a really good tool for building up stun. It'll be a good tool for breaking armor on the boss and helping set up those Hammer of the Gods, which is what we're going to be doing most of our damage with. Although Earth Shatter kind of stacks up some damage too, you'll see. So we have AoE and Aftershock. This is only for mapping here. We have the Rage, which I like a lot. I feel like this happened on my Titan too. Is I love this Rage stuff, and I usually try to like use it for a little while, but these are 4 points that may have to get chopped, even though they're so nice. Might have to get chopped. Off of the little jewel socket, we are actually coming down. This is a really awkward little point here, but I needed 8 more strength on my my bossing build, so I just chucked it in there. But I don't know if that's going to be something I keep. Probably not. For this, We have a little bit of a chance to inflict bleeding and empowered attacks increase or have increased damage. This is neat. So 20% chance to aggravate bleeding on targets you hit with empowered attacks, and empowered attacks deal more damage. This is another one of those things that I have on both builds for now. The thing about the chance to aggravate bleeding on targets you hit with empowered attacks. So we are going to have multiple attacks empowered by my war cry. So basically we stun a boss, we use both of our war cries, boom, the big empowered hammer comes down, bang, inflicts a big bleed. And then after that, we're gonna be hitting with like Earth Shatter as many times as we can while they're stunned. And those Earth Shatters are also gonna be empowered. At least that first one is, right? So you're gonna have at least 3 spikes to give a chance to aggravate bleed. And then they're gonna explode, which also has a chance to aggravate bleed. So ideally, we are likely to aggravate bleed with our like big combo, and this little cluster helps us do that quite a bit. Aggravated bleeding basically just means double damage on bleed, which is good. You definitely want that. Now we're going up here for the stun threshold stuff. I'm currently going in here for melee damage and more AoE. I just like it. I think these points, these 4 points, are also fine to invest in like 1, 2, 3, 4 for, you know, less chance of being stunned and a little bit more armor in maps. I'm feeling a little squish in maps right now, physical damage wise. We've brought my armor down a little bit. I don't love it, but it is what it is. This is one of those things that we could do. If we don't need more AoE and damage, we could just go ahead and plop it in a little bit of tankiness there, and that would be fine too. Probably for maps only. Maybe in general though. We're also going for Resolute Technique. This is one of those big keystone passives that I want to use to make sure that we cannot miss. We can't crit, no big deal. We don't want to be able to miss. I'm not really worrying about accuracy right now. This is one of those things that helps us not worry about accuracy. So for maps, we are going into the AoE stuff. Big AoE, a little bit more stun build up, a little bit more damage, and then these nodes just give you AoE along the way. This is a side of the tree that I have not really been involved in for a while, even though I do love this stuff here. I love the max res, and I do love blood magic, but we haven't been doing that. There is a chance that as time goes on, we will be up here for blood magic, which also means that we're going to be kind of around here for stuff too. So we will see. We will see. I feel like a lot of this and a lot of this is going to move down to like down here because I want more attack speed. I don't need polymathy, but it's good to be in the area. I don't need attack speed, but what I did in my Titan for big boss bleed was we were down here and we did a little bit of this because it's kind of cool to have more AoE, and you can even get some damage along the way. But also all of this bleed, all this aggravate, all of this duration of bleed, and even some of this where the bleeds tick faster, all of this is going to be really nice to have against big bosses. And you can even make use of this. 1 evasion rating per 1 armor on equipped gloves. So if you get big armor gloves, you can tick this talent, and then you can tick this talent, and you just get double armor on your gloves. My gloves currently have like no freaking armor because I decided to get gloves with more attack speed. I needed chaos resist bad, and gloves are kind of an easy way to get it. But I'm kind of poor, so we have to sort of make do with what we got. But that's just what I'm thinking, is a lot of this may go down here. But anyway, we are yapping hard on this video, but there's so much to talk about with talents. I like to talk about what we've done, where we're at, and where we're going. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now. And as the end game progresses, you got a lot more to think about, which is fun. But for this right here, I am taking the increased attack, stun buildup, and damage in trade-off for less attack speed. And now in my bossing build, we have ailment stuff too, right? Because we're doing bleed, so we have even duration down here. You do attack a little bit more slowly, which is another reason I want all of this. And I actually want to divest in this because this is reduced attack speed, this is plus attack speed. So we're going to be getting like 16% increased attack speed, and then it's going to be 20% increased attack speed because we don't have the reduction anymore. So it's going to be quite a bit faster. That helps offset some of this. But then for bossing, we have more damage on war cries, on empowered war cry stuff, basically. Not war cries themselves, but empowered abilities. And then war cries are going to empower additional attack. This is going to be really nice for when we do land that stun combo. It's going to mean our Hammer of the Gods is empowered, and our attacks with that first little Earth Shatter is going to be empowered too, to try to help proc that internal bleeding, that aggravated bleed. Over here we have mace stuff. We have a little bit of aftershock chance into just big damage and more damage against heavy stun enemies. This right here is why it's nice to have a weapon with stun duration on it, because that means that you have more time to wind up your stuns for the Hammer of the Gods. Usually if you're fast about it, this is why Warcry, attack speed and Warcry speed are also important, so that you can get your 2 Warcries out and then your Hammer of the Gods out and have it fall in time and hit the boss in time to actually benefit from the 20% more damage. I am still anointed for Titanic. Stun build-up, stun threshold, and percent strength is just so nice to have. So good. So we're still anointed for that. Come down here for big strength gains for mana trade-off. I have enough mana still. Again, I don't have very much of it, but once you start getting a bunch of like plus melee skills, which are really good to have, they're just expensive, it's gonna start chunking your mana. So you could consider, you know, going blood magic at this point, but just keep that in mind. Right now it's okay for me, but and having enough, I have like one thing with mana leech on it, which is enough, but eventually like this kind of stuff is gonna maybe make you want to move towards blood magic. So keep that in mind. So Giant's Blood, again, this, just to reiterate, this is the big thing about this build, where you can wear a two-handed weapon in one hand, which allows you to wear a shield and a two-hander, which is big offense, big defense. Very nice to have. It does triple the attribute requirement of martial weapons, so that's why early on you're probably going to need to get a lot of strength in your tree. And later on, you may want to consider moving into polymathy, but Smith of Kitava really gets you 20% increased strength. It's just huge, so it makes it a little bit more comfortable. That's what I'm saying about Smith, man. It solves your resists and your stats, so you can just kind of like wear anything at that point. It's kind of insane. Speaking of solving resistances, you're going through here for max resistances, and then this is a huge node for Smith of Kitava. +1 max fire res for each 40% uncapped fire res. So we have 124 uncapped fire res. That means we're getting +3% max fire res, which is +3 max all res, which is why we're almost 90 for everything. Pretty crazy. Yeah, let me just grab a jewel socket down here. My jewel sockets right now are pretty bad, but it gives me a little bit of bleed and a little bit of rage on hit, and that's fine. That's all good for now. Again, later on, we may want to come down here, and I think that's the development we're going to see next. We're going to move out of this part of the tree. We're not going to rely on this for extra damage and bleed. We're going to come down here for, I guess, a little bit of damage, but a lot of bleed, which would be great, and attack speed, which would be super duper nice. But that's what my attribute, or that's what my like skill tree looks like right now. We will blast through the skills real quick. Not a lot has changed, but a few things have changed, and it is worthy of note. So Mace Strike, I don't use it very frequently, but when I do, I have it giving me like a lot of utility. So I have it stealing buffs from rares if I hit them and kill them with my basic attack. I have an Ancestral Call, which is kind of makes people say, wait, what's that blue thing? But it also kind of makes your attack hit like multiple enemies and stuff. Like it does a little bit more damage and whatnot. It's just kind of cool. Close combat makes it do a little bit more damage. But here's the real stuff. Maim slows enemies, and then it culls them. So it's like my whole basic attack can be summed up with like these three, really. Or these three. Where it's like close combat and Ancestral Call are kind of whatever, but culling them and stealing their buffs and slowing them is kind of nice. It's just a utility ability. I don't actually use it for damage that much. Leap Slam. We are using Overpower. We are using Brink. I'm using Martial Tempo to make it faster, and Holy Descent to give me a buff. So Overpower stuns them more. Brink makes it so that it doesn't stun them too much, and then Martial Tempo makes it a faster ability, and Holy Descent makes it give me a heal at the bottom. So one thing that this is actually a really big deal that's worth mentioning. You guys may be running into the situation where your Leap Slam is starting to just kill enemies, right? And you don't actually want to kill them. You just want to set them up to prime them for stun. If you're running into that situation, you have two options. One of the options is just starting to use Stampede and just run enemies down and explode them, which is really fun. But the issue with that is that Bone Shatter becomes a lot less clean. You run into the situation where enemies are kind of scattered around and you have to kind of like run around and Bone Shatter them. And I love Stampede a lot. But one thing to think about is leaving your Leap Slam at level 7 or getting a new Leap Slam and just putting it at level 7 and then using it there. That way Leap Slam's damage will be much less. You will be much less likely to kill enemies with Leap Slam, and it will leave a nicely packed pack of enemies that are all primed for stun, just waiting to get cleanly bone shattered out of existence. So for a long time I've been using a full rank Leap Slam, but now I'm starting to kill enemies with Leap Slam, and it's not what I want anymore. So I'm doing this now. Another thing that you can think about doing is when you fight a boss, go ahead and crank your like full level Leap Slam in there, because it will do more damage, it'll do more stun build up, and I think that on bosses could actually be kind of worth. So the main thing to think about with Leap Slam though is Overpower, Brink, Martial Tempo, Holy Descent is what I like. You gotta have Brink in there. That's what makes it so that Leap Slam does, like, it gets them all the way to their stun bar, 99%, but doesn't actually heavy stun them, so you can delete them with Bone Shatter, which we're talking about here. For Bone Shatter, I have Impact Shockwave. I have Magnified Effect for more AoE, Reach for more AoE. And then I randomly still have Devastate on there. The reason I have Devastate right now is a couple things. One, I really like the fact that I can just Devastate, Bone Shatter a pack, and I'm like fully stacked with my armor buff like the rest of the map, which is nice. If I didn't want to do this, I could put damage on there, but what I will very likely do is when I get another slot for Bone Shatter, I'm just going to put Armor Explosion in there and call it good. And that'll be lovely. Huge AoE, huge damage. You're basically getting like triple damage on your Bone Shatter because Impact Shockwave is like the same damage, and then Armor Explosion is also like the same damage. It's just fire. So that's kind of nuts, and that's what I'll do with Bone Shatter. Hammer of the Gods, currently I am having it consume rage to do more damage, attack a little slower to do more damage, consume armor to do more damage, and then put a bleed on the target that we're scaling. I mean, the bleed is kind of whatever when it's a mapping build, but when it's the bossing build, it's going to do a lot of damage for us. Like, that's kind of what we're scaling on is bleed. Earth Shatter, again, this is kind of new. I've reused Earth Shatter before. It's fine. We can do some cool stuff with it. You basically throw down your spikes and detonate them. Right now we have Upheaval so that it splits into 3 spikes at the cost of doing a little bit less damage and attacking a little less fast. I have it doing Font of Rage so that when you're sitting here and the boss is like doing all this RP, you're sitting here and you're stacking up Rage, which is nice. That's another one of the reasons why we may be able to drop the Rage degen off of here. Currently I'm having it Splinter. This makes it so that when you're whacking the boss after just consuming its armor to do a big Hammer of the Gods, you're gonna shatter that armor again instantly once you're detonating your spikes. Currently I have it doing Aftershock. It has, you know, it's not like a super fast attack, but it's gonna have like a 40% chance to Aftershock. Yeah, 43% chance to Aftershock. I mean, 43% chance to do double damage is basically like, you know, 40% more damage, so that's pretty good support for it. Eventually against bosses, we're not even gonna use Overpower on Leap Slam, we're just gonna use Overpower on this. So if I wanted to, I could take out Aftershock and throw an Overpower, but eventually when we get a 6th slot, I'm probably going to chuck in Overpower on Earth Shatter, and it will just be the combination of Earth Shattering into Hammer of the Gods, Earth Shattering into Hammer of the Gods. It'll be juicy. So that's what I'll do here. Infernal Cry, I have Infernal Cry empowering the attack, costing a little bit less, and then consuming Rage to make the next attack do more damage. For Seismic Cry, we have it dazing the enemy, so you can even use that as like your opener. Just daze and then start doing your Earth Shatters, explode them, right? And that'll be good. I have it costing life instead of mana, and I have it granting me Rage instead of consuming Rage, which is fine because you're usually going to be Earth Shattering. You're going to put your spikes down, boom, boom, Earth Shatter to detonate them. The boss will be stunned. You use your War Cry again for the Rage, and then you Infernal Cry and drop the hammer, right? That's how that works. So for buffs, I'm still using Scavenge Plating right now. Again, my armor's a little low, and I don't really want to just be getting one-shotted in maps, which I don't usually, but I'm just trying to not have that happen. And I'm supporting that with Persistence for the duration of the buff, and then you can even just chuck in +1 level of supported physical skills just for free plus skills. I also have that qualityed up to have more armor. So what I'm doing right now is Overwhelming Presence. So you can absolutely use you can use any buffs, by the way, any combination of buffs, but you could chuck in Herald of Ash for more clear, and you can chuck Fire Mastery on that, and then Nay. What? It's my cat. She's got a toy over there. She's yelling at it. Overwhelming Presence, you can just switch this when you're fighting a boss if you want to, but I've just been using it with mapping. It's one less thing to do. So Scavenge Plating and then Overwhelming Presence is fine. You can use any combination. You can use Time of Need again. I like Time of Need for the heal. Maybe if I'm fighting like a big boss, I'll just use Time of Need. But again, Scavenge Plating's still chill against bosses because you do break their armor eventually. But Time of Need, Overwhelming Presence is probably fine for bosses. Scavenge Plating, Herald of Ash, just understand what they do, right? Scavenge Plating is more defense, Herald of Ash is more clear. OP is a combination of those. It's going to make your mapping pretty smooth, especially if you're using a lower level Leap Slam. It'll still stun the mobs really well. That's nice. And then Shield Charge. So if you're not in this slot, you can use Stampede, which I still really like. You can use Shield Charge for mobility. It's kind of either or. If you're not using Stampede to do damage, I still think Shield Charge is super nice to do. It's just a faster, kind of zippy attack. And you can do a couple different things with this one. So if you don't mind it doing some damage and maybe sometimes stunning enemies, you could chuck Momentum and Stomping Ground in there. That'll make it pop a pack. Boosh! It'll also do kind of nice stun to bosses. But if you don't want to have it stun enemies for you, you can chuck in like pin support, so it literally cannot cause stun buildup. And then you can also chuck in second wind if you want to be able to use it more frequently. Has a little bit of a longer cooldown that way, but it's still pretty dang good. And that's kind of the options that you have there for just zipping around. It does make mapping faster. If you want to be like efficient, you can just leap slam and bone shatter and then just kind of zip on between packs, and that's usually pretty good. My gear is like the same as the last video. I'm tight on time, so I'm not really gonna go over the gear. But for the weapon, you want physical damage, flat fizz, increased fizz, attack speed, weapon skills are all insane. And then for the armor and life and resist and strength are pretty much the name of the game here. That's pretty juicy stuff. The exceptions being with gloves, you can get increased attack speed and weapon skills on here too. And for movement speed on boots is pretty mandatory. And then for the shield, you want like increased block chance, strength, resist, but if you can get the increased extra physical damage, that's really, really good too. But all right, I'm gonna show you guys some gameplay of the build. Obviously, we're gonna have tons more gameplay live on stream. Tune in for that. But this is going pretty good. It's a good boss blaster. It's definitely a map blaster. You kind of get strong enough that maps are just like gonna be fine no matter what. But now we're trying to figure out how to kill bosses. And the Earth Shatter detonations to armor break and stun into Hammer of the Gods, I think is gonna be the name of the game for us, including bleed. But all right, guys, thank you so much for watching and supporting these videos. Pumped to do plenty more of these. Looking forward to Last Epoch too, so make sure you guys tune in for that. But I'll try to get the Mobalytics update for this build on there, and then we'll be testing it out live on stream. So we'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching, dudes. Peace. Let's see if we can hit him with it, man. I want to get my armor stacked up at least. One, two. Okay. My turn.
I need more time.
Hit him with it.
I need more time.
Trying to kill him before he does his big attack again. Maybe not. Okay. Oh, geez. There we go. He should be dead here. There we go. Nice. So, that's like kind of a 10 mod T15 boss with quite a few of those little boss like buffers on him. Seemed okay. Took a few thingies, but we got him. We missed. Yeah, I thought we were toast too. We got him. We got him. GG. I think they nerfed him a little bit. He seemed easier than before.
You will die alone.
Come
and
here!
afraid.
Steel yourself! No challenge! You'll break! Tops!
Why don't you lay down your weapons and talk it over?
No chance! Face me! Yeah!